Reporting live out of Tel Aviv for us at this hour. Hello, Brian.
Sandra, good afternoon. Well, CENTCOM says of those 33 Iranian-linked ships that have been turned away or blocked from Iranian ports over the last 10 days of this blockade, most of those ships have been oil tankers, and some of those ships have been blocked thousands of miles away in Asian waters away from the Strait of Hormuz. Take a look at this new video from the Department of War. It shows U.S. forces boarding and seizing a sanctioned oil tanker, the Majestic 10, in the Indian Ocean last night. The ship was illegally transporting oil from Iran as part of its shadow fleet. The White House says the U.S. blockade is costing Iran $500 million a day, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says in days, Iran's main oil storage at Karg Island will fill up, forcing Iran to shut down their oil wells or come to the negotiating table. President Trump tells Fox, quote, the blockade scares them even more than the bombing. They've been bombed for years, but the blockade they hate. Iran's parliamentary leader says Iran won't return to negotiations with the U.S. and Pakistan until the U.S. blockade ends. Quote, a complete ceasefire only makes sense if it is not violated by the maritime blockade and the hostage taking of the world's economy. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz is impossible with such a flagrant breach of the ceasefire. President Trump says he's in no rush, indicating he is willing to continue this blockade for as long as needed. Writing on Truth Social today, quote, Iran is having a very hard time figuring out who their leader is. They just don't know. The infighting is between the hardliners who have been losing badly on the battlefield and the moderates who are not very moderate at all, but gaining respect is crazy. We have total control over the Strait of Hormuz.
And now we're waiting to hear back from the Iranian regime. The fact that they cannot send a unified message yet, which is why the president decided to extend the ceasefire, just shows how effective Operation Epic Fury truly was, because there's a lot of internal division over there.
Iran is flexing its own control of the Strait of Hormuz. They've attacked 3 commercial ships yesterday, seizing 2 international cargo ships. And at the same time, we know today that President Trump says that they will attack. He's ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill small, fast boat attack boats from the Iran's Revolutionary Guard that had been laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. He says that they are working right now to demine that strait. Sandra?
Just past 8 o'clock in the evening there in Tel Aviv. Brian Yanis reporting live from there. Brian, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's bring in retired 2-star Marine Corps General Arnold Punaro. He is the CEO of the Punaro Group. So let's put up on the screen again what President Trump said regarding these small boats that may be out there either laying mines or harassing ships that are trying to transit the strait. He says, I've ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats though they may be, that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is no hesitation. Additionally, our mine sweepers are clearing the strait right now. I'm hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level. If these IRGC members think that they're going to be vaporized if they go out in the strait, do you think that will serve as a deterrent?
Well, John, I think the president is correct to keep maximum pressure on Iran to achieve his objectives. Militarily pressure, diplomatic pressure, economic pressure, and the goals of no nuclear weapon, no use of the enriched uranium, rejection of their nuclear ambitions. And the second goal and objective is, of course, set the precedent that no country can control an international waterway, which the Strait of Hormuz is. And so I think those pressure tactics, he continues to have the leverage, and he's also said his flexibility in terms of continuing the ceasefire, continuing the blockade. I do think these pressures ultimately will bring them back to the negotiating table to be able to achieve those objectives. It's so important to keep an international waterway open. If we were to allow Iran or any country to say they control it, it would set a terrible precedent for China in the South China Sea, where $5 trillion of the world economy goes through every year. Malaysia's now talking about maybe we ought to charge for the Straits of Malacca. 80% of the world's commerce is seaborne. So this blockade is incredibly important.
Yeah, well, who's going to control the Strait of Gibraltar? Would that be Morocco or would that be Spain? I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop as well. Let me come back to these small boats, because the president rightly points out in that same post on Truth Social that 159 Iranian Navy ships now lie at the bottom of the sea. All they have left are these small, fast boats. We have such expertise in taking out these drug boats that are moving at 40, 50 miles an hour across the ocean surface off of the coast of Venezuela and Colombia. I mean, it would be, I would think, pretty easy for the U.S. Navy to target anybody who's trying to harass either ships or lay mines.
Well, John, our naval blockade, I call it a naval cordon carnetier, which is a term of art. We're in the Gulf of Oman. The Straits of Hormuz are really too narrow. We don't want our ships there. And the flow of the commerce, the oil, is from the Persian Gulf through the Straits to the Gulf of Oman and now to the open ocean. I would say any Iranians that want to go out in the Straits, it's well within reach of our naval combatants and air power. And they're really, it's a death wish if they do this. So they should be very careful and very cautious about taking this on, because our military capability is such that we can do this, frankly, very easily.
So the president has said in that other post on True Social that Iran's having a very hard time coming up with somebody to go to the negotiations and a negotiating position because they're so fractured in the leadership. But Iran continues to make this demand that we are not going to show up, that is, Iran is not going to show up at peace talks as long as the Strait of Hormuz is closed. I mean, this is a regime that makes these demands without, it would seem, like the Black Knight again in the Monty Python movie, not a leg to stand on.
John, that's correct. And frankly, they're going to come around, and I think the president is showing imminent patience and is showing, while he's keeping the maximum pressure, he's also showing some very sound flexibility. And again, he says, I'm not in a hurry. There's no time thing. And as the Treasury Secretary said, you know, they're losing economically every day. Certainly they've lost militarily. And I do think at some point, you know, and I also think by not sending our negotiators over there on a whim, again, they are going to figure out sooner or later that's the only option they have. A durable peace in the Middle East would be a remarkable achievement. It's worth all of us. Frankly, I tell all the hand-wringers, take a deep breath and be patient.
Yeah, and I would assume, too, that the U.S. delegation is not going to head over to Islamabad until they know that the Iranian delegation is already there. We'll see. General, thanks for joining us. I always appreciate your time.
Absolutely.